Black Sheep Props channel. I'm Steve, and I'm here to teach you the tips, tools, techniques, and materials for building your very own super cool EVA foam props. Now, in our last build, we went video game when we built the makeshift knife from the Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And if you missed that build, we'll include the link in the description below to our channel's homepage so you can go over there and check out Makeshift Knife or any of the other super cool builds we have there. Now, for this build, we're going to go... This is a weird one. Superhero, horror, action-adventure, comic book. I have no idea which one to put it in, but that's the genres that it is. So without further ado, Black Sheep Props would like to introduce you to the newest member of the family. Oh, hot dog. Look at that thing, man. Wow, it's the Big Baby from Hellboy. Check it out. Wood stock. We've got the black metal that is completely banged up. This thing is dinged up, scratched up, banged up, and it's seen a lot of stuff. Really easy though. Tons of work, but you've seen us do all these techniques before. You can totally nail this. We've got our cool shaped out handle. We've got this whole big bottom body piece that we kind of have to piece together, and then this whole top contraption with a lot of cylinders and splitting dowels and wrapping and all that stuff. But like I said, totally easy. A lot, but easy. So in this episode, making an EVA foam Big Baby, we're going to go step by step through how to make it. And we're going to seal it and paint it. And if you want to build along with us, we have a template. So we'll include the link in the description below to our storefront, so you can go snag a template if you want. Or don't, just chill and watch. All right, if you're ready to hit, let's make something. Okay, here we go. We're going to start our Big Baby. We've got some super thick 48mm, that's 2 inches, and a 12mm, that's a half. Okay, there we go. All of our pieces. Okay, now you know the drill with contact cement. After you coat your pieces, you let them both dry, and then they can make contact. All right, get our corners down. Don't drop it down. We've got to really be careful on this one because we want to get our edges lined up and our corners lined up, just like that. See that? Nice. Now keep it. Okay. All right, there we go. Nice. All right, now we're just going to take our time. We're going to do the same thing on all the rest of the pieces. Okay, there we go. There is our center section. But what we're going to do is we're going to come in with our Dremel and we're going to take off some of this glue residue just in case you see it. Okay, let's see if we can smooth out some of those little bumps. Alright, let's come in with our 80 grit sandpaper. That's not bad. Okay, now we're going to come in with this 48mm dowel and we're going to cut 5 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to cut them this exact length, which is... Alright, there we go. There's our marks right there, there, and there. Okay, now we're going to go over to the bandsaw and we're going to knock that edge off. We're going to slide it right up against the side, just like that. Okay. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to split this dowel right down the middle on the bandsaw, which is why we put these support blocks on here. This way, this will keep our dowel from rolling and we'll get a nice perpendicular cut on the bandsaw. So let's take this over, split it. Okay, there we go. We split it down the middle. Now it's still stuck to our supports, so now we're going to make our cuts right here. Beautiful. We got nice half rounds. Now we only... All right, now we line it up flush with the edge. Right there and there. So we got a smooth edge. And now make sure we're centered. All right, looking good. Let's keep going. Okay, now we're going to come in with these 3mm pieces. We're going to cut all these out. And we're going to start with our little sharpened brass tube, and we're going to pop all these holes out. Goes right through in just like 2 spins. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to slightly round our edge off. Okay, now we're going to come in with our super glue. Use an extra piece of foam as a squeegee. Just like now we're going to line up the center line with our hole right there. And hold it while it bonds. Okay, now we're going to take this 24mm piece and a 48, and we're going to... All right, now because that's so thick, we're going to go over to the bandsaw and we're going to cut it out. Right, probably right about there. Okay, so we've got our mark. We used a test piece. Now we know how long our wrap needs to be. All right, we're going to make this 3 5/16 inches wide, okay? Use our piece our test piece, so we know we've got our proper length. Okay, now we're going to take our ends and we're going to cut a slight bevel. We're going to tip our knife just a little bit. All right, there we go. We've got a slight bevel cut on that end and a slight bevel cut on that end. So when it comes together to wrap, those will meet up nice. Okay, now we're gonna put this in the middle, and what we want is we want 3/16 on each side to overhang. Okay, so we're gonna have to make a guideline to follow. All right. Let's set this on something so it can dry. There we go. All right, there we go. Now we're going to roll it, but as we roll it, we want to make sure that we're lining our Sharpie mark up because we want an even amount hanging over both sides. So I'm looking at it right here this way, making sure that we're even. Yep. Now we are going to switch around to this side and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to meet our seam up right there, and now we're just... All right, squeezed it in. All right, let's roll it. All right, now we've got our Sharpie mark drawn so we can know we're dropping it right down in the right spot. All right, let's get this side down first. And now let's spin it around just to make sure we're falling right inside our marks. And we are. All right, now we're gonna put a ton of pressure on here. Hey, looking good. Man, you've seen it so far. Totally easy. Got it? All right, there we go. We used the Dremel. We slightly softened the edge of these 2 pieces. We just didn't want them to be hard edges. All right. Okay, now we're going to come in and we're going to clean this seam up a little bit, all right? It's not perfect. All right, that is smooth. Very nice. All right. Okay, we're back with our 48mm dowel. Now we're gonna... All right, there we go. There's 6 of them. Okay, now we cut our template out, and we drew a center mark, and we drew a mark around the outside. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to come in and we're going to Dremel from this line up to this line to make a nice taper around the edge. And we're going to take the bulk of the material off with our rough bit. Now don't forget, do not breathe in this foam dust. So I have a dust mask on, and like we always say, don't be a dum-dum. Wear a dust mask if you're going to be grinding foam. All right. All right, check that out. Pretty nice. All right, now let's come in and let's smooth it out with our smooth bit. Beautiful. That is beautiful. Okay, now we took our circle template and we made this little circle in the middle, and then we drew this line 3/4 of an inch up from the bottom all the way around. All right, so we're going to go over to the bandsaw, we're going to cut this off, and then we're going to use the drill press and we're going to poke that hole out. All right, there we go. We split it, and then we used the drill press and we popped our hole out. That is really cool. All right, now we're going to come in with the third piece. All right, this is 2mm foam. All right, we drew lines with our circle template. Right there and right there. Slightly set it in from the edge. There we go. Nice. Okay, there we go. Check it out. Got that nice little ridge right there. The hollow center point. Pretty cool. Okay, there's all 6 of them. Nice. And we hit them with some heat just to tighten them up a little bit. Pretty nice. Transfer our pattern over so we know. Very cool. All right, let's take our 48mm dowel. Let's cut an inch. Okay, now the reason we're going to use super glue here is you've got a second to move it around, okay? So we're going to stick it down with a lot of super glue on there. And we're going to slide it around so that we can get it right in place, right? So ton of super glue on here. Let's move it a little bit. Okay, now we're going to take this 24 and an 18mm and we're going to stick them together. Okay, now we're going to cut this out on the bandsaw, but we don't want a perpendicular cut. We want kind of a tapered cut around the whole thing. And here's what our piece looks like from the side. So this angle right here is the angle we're going to tilt the table on, so that when we cut it, it's going to have this cool taper around the whole piece. So we're going to take this over to the bandsaw, tip our table to match it, and then we're going to cut it. All right, there we go. Wow, check it out. That is so cool. Before we attach this, we're going to cut the piece for down here. Okay, so our base piece is going to be a 24mm and a 10mm stuck together. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to bring in our other pattern. So we did our top cut. Now we're going to do our side cut. Okay, so we're going to roll this over to the side. That's it right there. All right, that's going to be our base. But we're a little bit too long. Our measurement was off. So let's come back in. Right there's our mark. All right, that's where we're cutting it off at. So far, so good, and right there, perfect. Okay, we're actually going to retrace our line here because we want this exact. Now, before we stick it, we're going to get our Dremel out. We're going to slightly round these edges off. All right, there we go. Slightly smooth edges. Let's come in with our 220 sanding stick and just... Okay, we've got bandsaw marks all the way around here. So let's come in with our 80 grit sandpaper and see if we can get rid of those. All right, there we go, nice and tight. Make sure we're fairly on the money. There, and there. Oh. Let's dust the whole thing with heat just to tighten up the foam. That's a big baby happening right there. Okay, now this is going to make up the base underneath our big baby. We've got a 24 millimeter and then a bunch of 12s. Okay. Wow. What? We're going to saw up and down like a sewing machine. All right. We've got all of our pieces cut out. Now we're going to go over to the bandsaw and we're going to knock this piece out. All right, there we go. Now we can come in and we can start attaching our pieces. All right, they're going to go on just like this on both sides. All right, so, but before we do that, we're going to do what we always do, and that's we're going to soften these edges up a little bit with the Dremel. All right, there we go. Slightly softened edges around all of it. And this is actually too long. This is supposed to only go to right here. All right, so we're gonna have to cut this off. And what we also wanna do is we wanna round this front piece. So we're gonna come in here with our circle guide and we're going to all right, there we go. Nice curve and flat back. Now let's re-round the edges. Okay, we have a problem here. We stuck this down and we forgot to make a cut. All right, we were supposed to cut this right across the bottom, right here. Okay, now this is gonna be tough to do. We're not gonna be able to fit this through the bandsaw. All right, so what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna do some surgery. We're gonna sharpen our box cutter and we're gonna cut right through here and we're gonna cut this piece off so that we can go do this on the bandsaw. All right, there we go, nice. Now let's round off our edges. Nice. a lot thinner than it was. It was too thick because we forgot to make our cut. But there we go, looking pretty good. All right, now we're cutting this 24mm piece out on the bandsaw. We want this to be a dome, okay? So this is gonna be a ton of mess. So let's get some gloves on and a dust mask. Actually, before we start this, let's go around and cut some of this edge off to save ourselves some grinding. Take your time. We're just gonna knock the corner off so we don't have to do as much dremeling. Don't rush. Okay, there we go. Alright, that's not bad. Shaped it. Now we could take a lot more time and really go crazy shaping it, but that's not too bad. I think we can live with it. Alright, now let's get our sanding sticks out. We've got 80 grit sandpaper. Let's start there. We're going to set it down on our Sharpie mark on one side, but don't just drop it down. Come around, make sure we're centered. There we go. Beautiful. So it's going to be perfect. Okay, now we're going to start doing the big handle. It's kind of like a rifle butt. We've got two 18mm pieces of foam. We're going to be sticking them together, but we're coming in with this steel rod and we're going to put some support in here because it's kind of long and this front end is a little bit heavy, so we're going to support it in here. All right, so let's start doing that. Start our curve. Ooh, there we go. Bend it just a little bit more. Okay, because we want it to come straight out of this end. So that's pretty good right there. Look at that. That is really nice. All right, let's start making some marks here. All right. Now let's make a mark where we want this to cut off, probably right about there. Okay, that's where we're going to cut it. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to come in with our Dremel and we're going to Dremel out a trench. Okay, we've got a round bit in. Okay, now that gets a little bit of an edge here, and we just go through and we peel it off. Nice. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to cut out just outside of this line, okay? All the way around the whole piece, just outside the line. Okay, there we go. See that? We cut just outside the line. Okay, now. Perfect. Okay, now we're going to flip this over. Okay, there we go. That is pretty thick and it's got metal support in it. Now we come back in with our template and we center it. All right, there we go. Perfect. Now we're going to go back over and cut it out right on our line. Okay, there we go. Now we've got this little piece right here. There we go. Okay, now we're going to take these 3mm pieces and we're going to cut them out. Okay, now we're going to come in with the inner piece of this template. Okay, that's where our two side pieces are going to go. Now we're going to start dremeling from here back. Okay. Okay, there we go. That's how we want to shape it. Let's come in with our 80 grit sandpaper. Looking good. Okay, now we're going to come in with our X-Acto knife and we're going to make a little slice right around this line that we drew. Right, we're not going to go all the way through, obviously. We just want to break the surface. Okay, and we're going to try to get as close as possible. Look at that, that's nice. Slightly round this edge off, and I mean slightly. We've got a slightly round edge, and then we smoothed off the seam a little bit right there. That's pretty tight. Now let's seal it. Okay, now when we heat seal it, it's also going to take this X-Acto crease we made, split open. All right, there it is on both sides. And now we drew this line around our handle and up here. Now we're going to come in with our X-Acto knife and we're going to make a cut there also. Okay, now we're going to use the heat gun and it's going to open up these creases just like it did here on the side. So now when we paint it, we'll do this part a different color than this part, and it'll look like it's kind of like an embedded piece of metal stripping on there. Nice. Okay, here's some 4mm circles. We're going to pop them out with our brass tube. Okay, there we go. It's rounded over. Okay, now after we rounded those over, we split them down the middle. Get a super glue puddle down. Okay, we went ahead and we threw two more on right here on the end. All right, now we're going to come up and we're going to start making the hole where this is going to go into. Okay, so if you notice right here, this dowel is not perfectly centered. So if you notice right here in the crosshair, this is just a little bit over from the center. And now we're going to come in with a drill bit, and we have it marked how deep we need to go in, and we're going to go right into that end spot right there. Pull this back. We're going to feed this in. All right, there we go. Look at that. That is sturdy too with that steel rod in here. Man, you gotta have it because this whole front end's kind of heavy. So there we go. All right, here's our lever that's made out of 8mm foam. So we're put a mark where our little front piece is going to go. All right, there we go. All right, there we go. Now we're going to bring this in and And we're going to stick it right where we made our mark. Okay, 8mm piece of foam for our sight. Just a little bit back from the front. Okay, now we're going to start making our piece that's going to go on the very back end, okay? And it's going to be made up of a 6mm and a couple 3mm. So there we go. Okay, now I think we're going to go over to the scroll saw for this, because this is a little bit thick to cut with the X-Acto, so we're going to go hit this with the scroll saw. Okay, there we go. Cool, got the little recessed circles down in there. Now this is a tiny bit rough, so we're going to come in and we're going to try to clean this up. Alright, here's a little leftover piece of 6mm. Let's pop a circle out. Actually, this might be a little bit thin. Let's pop another one out of this 8mm piece. Let's try that. That's going to sit in there pretty nice. Alright, now what we're going to do too is we're going to have to cut a little tiny slice off of the side. Alright, we're going to push it down while it bonds. Okay, now what we did is we took a roll of tape and we set it on here and we traced this little center shape. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to come in with our X-Acto knife and we're going to make a cut here. Alright. Okay, there we go. Now let's get the heat gun going. Let's separate that crease. Alright, there we go. Got a nice little crease on there. Perfect. Now, alright, let's come with this little metal piece we have. We're going to make a little bit of a support out of this thing, okay? Let's get our... Now we're going to be able to come in and we're going to be able to stick this right up the middle of our piece, just like that. Wipe off our squeeze out right there on the sides. Okay, now we're going to come in with our wood burner and we're going to do some little detail gouging on the edges of our stuff. Just like that. Alright, there we go. Nice and gouged up around the edges, all the way around the edges of this band here. Really cool, looking good. Alright, so with that gouging we did, that brings the build portion of our Big Baby to a close. Alright, here we are at the spray stand. We're going to begin coating our Big Baby with our Plastidip. And you know what we always say, even if you're outside in a well-ventilated area, do not spray without your respirator. Alright, there we go. Coated with several coats of Plastidip. We got in every little crevice, not too many hidden areas in there. Alright, so what we're going to do is the barrels are dry, we're going to stand it up on the barrel, we're going to let the whole thing dry all the way through, and then we're going to do a super easy paint job on it. Okay, here we are at the spray stand. We're going to begin spraying our Big Baby with our flat black. Alright, there we go. The whole thing is coated with several coats of our flat black. Now, we didn't do the handle because we're going to be doing something else to the handle, but we sprayed the whole thing and it's a little bit shiny. Now, it looks a little bit shiny too because it's wet, but once it completely dries, we're going to hit it with some matte finish spray to really make it look like flat black. Alright, we're going to hang it up and let it dry. Okay, now if you can tell, we toned the shine down a little bit on the black. We hit it with some matte finish spray and it got it a lot more toned down, way less shiny. That's right about where we want it. Okay, now we're going to come in. Let's flip this around to here. All right, now we're going to come in with our wrought iron. Okay, there we go. Check it out. You can see kind of like an overall gray patchiness happening on here, which is exactly what we want. Sort of gives it that oxidized black metal look. Just breaks it up a little bit and just begins to give it that feel, okay? All right, now we're going to come in with the real brown. Nice sharp line where the wood stock stops. Okay, we went ahead and we put a little piece of painter's tape down on each side here. That doesn't have to be really good and it doesn't have to stay down for a long time. All right, we're going to come in here with some wrought iron. Nice. All right. All right, now we're going to come in with our black. All right, now we're coming in with our sterling silver. And you do this all around a lot of the edges, just like that. Just drag it along the edge, just like that. Check that out. Man, is that cool. All right, check it out. Scratches all over the place. On all those little edges, look at that. That is really cool. Up here on the front, around all these barrels, around this whole rim here, all the edges everywhere we hit with little scratches. Look at that. All right, now we come in with our silver again. Okay, we're gonna put some down on paper towel. Okay, now we're gonna come in with this acid brush. We're gonna tap it in there, and then we're gonna wipe it all off of there. Look at that. Okay, now we're going to come in with our brown, and we're going to get some black mixed in there. All right. There we go. We've got some stripes around the handle just like that. And we're going to use our same color we just used, but we're going to dry a lot of it off, and then we're going to do streaks like this. And we're coming in and we're just darkening the tone in some areas. And there you go. That's the whole paint job. That was totally easy. Sprayed it with our flat black. Then we came in with a matte finish spray just to tone it down a little bit because it was still a little bit too shiny. And then really, really easy stuff after that. We came in with the Wrought Iron, which is a dark gray. Dabbed it all around just to give it that overall kind of oxidized feel where you can see it change from black to gray in a lot of areas. And then we came in with a brush and we just hit a bunch of edges randomly all over the place. And then we came in with our acid brush and we dry brush it, wipe it off on paper towel, and we can do these cool little scratches here and these really nice, really wispy scratches along the edges. Really nice look. And then we did the handle, really easy. 2 tones. The real brown, and then we came in and mixed the real brown with black to get our darker color for our wood grain, and came in and did like a solid line and then a little bit of a dry brushed softer line. And again, I'm no expert, but that's kind of just enough to give it a little bit of a wood tone. And that was it. So with that last detail, putting the wood grain on our stock, that brings our Big Baby build to a close. Wow, what I tell you, tons of work, but easy, easy, easy. You saw us build this whole big contraption up here. We split a lot of dowels to make it look like round barrels. We built this whole intersection out of stacked up octagons to get the whole shape we needed with the flat edges to stick our dowel or half rounds on. We got the whole barrel assembly built up front. We did a lot of drilling, a lot of dremeling to get the edges, and the bottom part was really, really easy too. And you see how we did the same technique we do on a lot of builds where we layered stuff up to give it these cool recesses and stuff like that. And then you saw us put metal support inside the handle so this thing is totally sturdy and not going anywhere. That was it. The build part was easy, and the paint job was even easier. We sprayed the whole thing black, and then we toned it down with a little matte finish spray so it wasn't too shiny. And then we came in and we wrought ironed patches all over it because it gives it that nice kind of like aged look to black steel. And then we did the handle, which was putting our brown on and then mixing a little bit of black with our brown just to get a slightly darker tone to come in here and get our wood grain lines. And then the scratching. Came in with a silver brush and just hit all of our edges all over this whole thing, and got cool scratches happening, and then came in with our acid brush. And did the dry brush technique, which adds really nice wispy scratches on the metal in a bunch of spots. There you go, you saw it, easy peasy. That's it. That concludes making an EVA foam Big Baby. Hope you liked it. If you did, give us a like, share us with a friend, and subscribe to this channel. And together we're going to go step by step through a lot more super cool builds so that you get the props you deserve. Thanks for coming. See you next time.